you, Mousumi. Over to
Thank
you.
you, Jenna, for inviting me here, and also Sylvie, though I know she's not here today. Thank you for inviting me to this conference to share some reflections from my current research. It's an ongoing project funded by the Indian Council for Social Science Research under the Ministry of Education, for the first time conducting a national survey of international students' motivations and experiences in India. And I'm going to share with all of you some of the challenges that I'm facing, while conducting this research on the ground over here in India. So I'm going to first provide you a brief overview of my research, the research design, challenges on the field, and thereafter the strategies that we are kind of improvising on the field to meet the challenges, doing research with international students ethically. That's what I'm going to present to all of you today. With regards to the overview of my research, as all of you know, most of the theoretical and empirical research on internationalization of higher education is conducted through a Western-centric lens. So this study intends to conceptualize internationalization of higher education through contextual lenses, in particular decolonization, regionalization, and South-South cooperation with regards to international student mobility. So the research questions with which I and my co-PI, Dr. Shekhar Tokas from Ambedkar University, India, and Dr. Vanessa Fernandez from Monash University, Australia, we began with these questions: how internationalization of higher education is conceptualized in India, what are the broad objectives of internationalization in India, do Indian institutions have the same goals of internationalization as those pursued by the West? What are the major non-Western approaches to internationalization of higher education, and how are they different from India's approach to internationalization of higher education? Are these objectives and approaches in line with the motivations and experiences of international students in India? That's our main research question. And in order to respond to these questions, the study that we are conducting right now is conducting a primary survey across 10 states and approximately 100 plus institutions, universities, and higher education institutions in India. Now, with regards to our research design, from the very beginning, we adopted a very participatory mode of conducting this research, designing the survey, and conducting interviews with international students as field investigators. I, along with my co-PI, Dr. Shekhar Tokas, we do have some past experiences researching with international students in India with regards to specific population of students, gathering data and doing analysis specifically from specific regions, not a national level study like this. So drawing on our past experiences of working with international students, we also build relationship with certain cohorts of international students. So we involve them in the research process right from the very beginning as we were designing the survey, and also over the period of time, we are also recruiting field investigators in the north, south, east, and western regions of India from among international students to spread the survey among international student community in India, and also to conduct qualitative interviews. So the challenges, now talking about the challenges that we are facing, the first challenge, of course, was recruiting international students as field investigators. Now, of course, as I mentioned, I and one of my co-PI, we do have some relationships built based on prior research. But for this particular research, since it's a national level study, we wanted to reach out to also students with whom we have not worked before. And in order to do that, and we have found this even before, it's not easy. And those of you who do research in educational institutions, you must know very well, around the world, it's a challenge. It's not easy to get access to educational institutions. And if you are seeking to recruit students as research participants, of course, at the school level, it gets even more challenging because these are minors. But even at the higher education level, within a post-colonial context like India, it's very, very hard, to get access to educational institutions, to get required permissions, and to conduct research ethically. As all of we need these permissions and consent, and also at the institutional level, just as from the research participants. So the complexity of the context in India makes it even very, very challenging. Accessing higher educational institutions in the field, both public and private higher education institution, this is what we have been experiencing, has been extremely difficult. With regards to the private higher education institutions, there's steep sense of competition that we are observing, and there is a sense of guarding the institution. In many institutions, I wouldn't generalize saying all institutions, but we have almost visited a number of institutions, I'm saying, based on our field experience, particularly in the northern India and southern India. We haven't explored that much the west and the east yet, as I just mentioned. It's an ongoing study. We will be going to higher education institutions for fieldwork, both in the western and eastern parts of India, but eventually. But so far, what I'm sharing with all of you is based on our experience of reaching out to higher education institutions in the northern region and in the southern region of India. And also in public higher education institutions, we are observing, it's quite interesting, just as there's this steep sense of competition among the private institutions with regards to the public institutions, there is a lot of skepticism that we are observing. Now, when we design these study, we also, as part of participatory method of working on this project, we designed to include international students as field investigators, but it was also embedded in the study that we are going to explore international students' motivations and experiences, not just from a student perspective, but also administrators' perspective. So there are actually two sets of surveys, one for the international students and the other for the administrators. So, gathering data from the administrators have been particularly challenging. And in some institutions, even to reach the international students, those permissions are required from administrators, and data is not really available with regards to publicly available with regards to how many students are there in which campuses, and which kind of programs they are enrolled in. So it's really challenging to navigate the entire landscape at a national level. And these are some of the quotes I wanted to share with all of you. This is a quote from a dean of international students in a very highly reputed private higher education institutions. I had a discussion with the university board. However, it will be difficult for us to share the data with a third party. If it's possible, we can co-author the paper as to share data. Otherwise, will not be possible as data can be used by internal faculty for research purposes. And here's another quote from international relations officer at a public higher education institution. This is also a very reputed one. I'm writing in reference to your request outlined in the email below. While we truly appreciate your initiative and the effort involved in this proposal, we regret to inform you that we are unable to proceed with your request as per the terms of MOU with our partner universities and in compliance with their personal data policies. We are restricted from asking international students to participate in workshops or surveys that may involve sharing their data with external institutions. We deeply respect the value of your work and genuinely regret that we are unable to support your request. At this time, we trust you will understand our limitations, and we greatly appreciate your understanding and cooperation. So within a situation like this, how do you proceed? We have been really struggling to get the the number of data that and also in terms of both quantitative and qualitative data to do the work. So we realize, of course, definitely we need to partner with more higher education institution administrators for collaborative research at the national level. Though my co-PI is actually from a public institution, higher education institution. Despite that, we are really facing hurdles. And I belong to a private higher education institution. Despite that, we are facing these kind of hurdles accessing higher education institutions. And one copia, as I mentioned, is from Melbourne, Australia, Monash University. So we need to rethink research methodology and field work. Lately we have been actually also, and this is wisdom we gained from a lot of our student research assistants who are working as part of this project, literally rather than approaching international students through the institutions or universities where they're enrolled, it's better if we can find an alternative way to reach out to the students. And digital social media and outreach for recruitment of research participants is being now done by our research assistants. And that has been actually quite successful compared to the earlier approach that we were taking, more institutional approach that we were taking. I'm wrapping up almost. This is like my last slide. I know there are about 2 minutes left. Because the students, they are these days, they're all digital natives, so they are all over the social media space, and there are international student groups from African student groups of Nepali students in the online social media spaces. And we are, of course, following all the ethical protocols of gaining informed consent from these students. Of course, they're all adults individually to participate in this research. So doing research with international students ethically, of course, it's not an easy task, I should say, within this post-colonial context of India, with regards to a steep sense of competition and also skepticism across the higher education institutions and at the administration level at institutions, and also taking into consideration many of our students who are coming into this country are coming from mostly neighboring South Asian country, African country, and other economically less developed country. The challenges are multiply in many ways. With that, I just want to wrap up my presentation, and I'm open to more questions and further discussion with regards to the research project, particularly those of you who are not very much aware of the landscape within the larger Indian higher education context, researching with international students. Thank you all for your attention, and I'm open to questions and providing whatever answer I can during the Q&A session. Thank you so much.